Hello and welcome back. This is video 3, queuing and recording queues and building queues. All about the queues and programming. Now we get to play with some lights. So I made a really basic light plot. We have a few of our Mac auras. We have a few conventional fixtures, and we have a few LED color source spots in the back. So if I select all of them, we can kind of see what they're doing. Granted, this is not focused at all and they're not doing anything fantastic. This is just put together so that you can start visualizing building queues and stuff like that. So what I'm actually going to do is split this down the center and bring up our queue sheet, PSD. Do a minor little clean up here for things like that to get rid of our extra stuff, adjust it so we can see all of our different things because we are going to be covering all of these. At least most of them. We may not cover exactly everything, but we will cover all of them. So first off, we have all our lights on. I'm going to clear our command line, and I am going to bring it up and record our first cue. So actually, just so I'm going to leave the ambient light here, I'm just going to get this kind of in a good looking position here. So we have the lights turned on for how we want. We are going to hit record cue, or just record 1. It autofills the queue, and hit enter. So now we have a bunch of things populated in our queue thing. So we have queue number 1. We have our time up and in down, or intensity time. We have our focus time. We have color time and beam time. So let's break this down a little bit and see how we can change different things. So what I'm going to do is actually make these go out, and then I'm going to record Q2 here and see how we can navigate between those. So I'm going to pop this up. We jump back to Q1 and we have those up. If I hit space, it goes and fades out. So you see that there's only one tab populated here. That is because those fixtures there are only changing intensity. So the only information that really matters is the time it takes to change that intensity. So we have a 5 there. Now, if we were to make that shorter by doing either, because we are in Q2, I for time, and hit 2 for 2 seconds, enter, it is now 2 seconds. If we go back a Q, I am using shortcuts, which is control space for backwards and space for forward. If you get a pop-up that says spacebar go disabled, I believe it is just Alt-G to enable it or disable it, depending on what you need for it. And then control space will back up a queue, and space goes forward a queue. So visually, we can see the fixtures are fading, and they're fading in 2 seconds. Now, if we want it longer, we can increase that time by just selecting time like 8, which is not long for some cases, but we go back to Q1. We're in Q1. We go to Q2. It fades a lot slower. This can be really subtle and have a very beneficial effect. Sometimes you want it 0. So even a time 0, and we go back and hit go, and they snap out. So something to be aware of, if we were to grab these fixtures here and we take them out, and we do update, which is U, enter, that updates the queue, meaning we save the changes to that queue. So Now if we back up a cue and go forward, they all snap out at the same time, which is great. Now, we only want to bring up these front ones for our next cue. So we are going to bring these up at full for now. We're going to grab these. I'm not really worried about channels right now. I'm just kind of showing you the breakdown of the cues. And I want these out. And then I'm going to, instead of update, I want this Q3. We're currently in Q2, so if I hit update now, it's going to change Q2. I want to make this Q3, this look Q3. So I'm going to hit record 3, and that creates a Q3. Now, we are going to try something a little different. So we're here in Q2, and we're here in Q5. Now, a popular thing to do is I want the lights coming up to be fast. I want them to be a second, but I want the lights going out to stay at that 5-second slow fade. So what we can do is something kind of called differential timing. So I can change the up time to 1 and the down time to 2 by being in the queue or selecting Q3, time 1 for the uptime, /5 for the downtime. Enter. You can see that there is now a slash between these two. That means it's corresponding to the two different fields up here, so up and down. Now if we back up a cue and hit go, watch how fast these lights come on and those still fade out. So this is very useful for pulling focus or dynamic cueing between different things and stuff like that. So this can be very, very beneficial for a lot of flow and progress through your production. Next, we will look at how to remove this, because sometimes this gets really wonky and stuff where you don't like how it looks and it's confusing and it might be weirded out by it. Because if we do Q3 time 3, it only changes the uptime. And we're like, no, we just want it back to both up and down time for that. So what you can do is kind of remove it. And this will be a common theme through most of the software, to get rid of a dynamic attribute like this. You leave it blank. So Q3 time, no numbers, just enter, and it goes back to default or removes it. So now it's at that, I can go back to my time 3 and it is back to the normal. But I kind of want to keep that differential timing right now, so I am going to time 1/5. Great. And you can change that around and do different things within each of those. The next thing we're going to look at is the focus. The focus time is how long it takes a fixture to move from point A to point B during that cue. So what we're actually going to do is record a Q4 and turn these fixtures on. So I'm going to turn them on first. I'm going to actually focus them, and I'm going to focus them to a random point here. I clicked and held in augmented to get them all selected fixtures to point there. Now I can do record 4, enter, and if we back up a cue, they should move back to position. And if we hit go, we can see them turning on and moving there. So there's a few things to this. If we want the movement, great. We can adjust the movement separately than the intensity. So we want that to snap up. We want it to be faster. We still want that movement because movement can be interesting. So we're in Q4 or Q4, time again gets to focus time. This allows you to change the focus time. So let's make that 2 seconds. Now if we back that up and go into this queue, we can see the lights move much faster to that position before they're fully up. So they snap up faster. We can make it 0, but moving fixtures and everything can't instantly snap things or move exactly to a location instantly. So be mindful of travel times. A lot of times when they move faster, they can also tend to make noise. So sometimes I use this focus time as a way to sneak noisy smart fixtures into the next position without them being too cranky and loud during maybe a quiet part of a performance. So this is one of the little niches that I do to help clean up little things. Next, we can look at color. So I am actually going to grab these fixtures up here and turn them on at full. We'll take these out because they're kind of just in the way and out. Nope, I selected all of them at full. Now, I want these to change colors to, let's say, red. They changed to red. We're going to record this Q5. Now in Q5, you see that they are red. And if we back up, they turn off. And if we move up, you can see they do a color shift from that white to red. And to make this even more prevalent, I am actually going to select those again and change them to blue. Record Q6. Now, because the intensity did not change, we don't see that here. We see only color because color is the object changing there. So if we back up here, it goes from red to Q6, and that is the entire, it goes to blue. Now I'm like, oh, I want that to be 2 seconds. I want that to be really, really snappy. I can, in theory, just do I1, and it changes all the timing of the Q to 1. So now if we back up and go forward, it changes the color in 1 second. It changes everything in 1 second. Granted, this doesn't have that circle around it or oval, indicating that nothing's actually changing, but it does have a time of 1. Now, if you wanted to change intensity, like you wanted it at 50%, and you want it to change then, but you want the fade to be, the color fade to be 1 second, but you want the intensity to fade over 5 seconds, you can change the intensity of each. So time 1, actually we want time 5. You see how it changes both, but now if we go time and we select color and we put that to 1, they are now different. But if I change this to 6, now it only changes the intensity. So until you change it, they will all be the same. And once you change it, they will all be separate until you do a time clear. So if I were to go, before I do that, let's look at this. So we're here, we're in red, I hit go. It changes the color really quickly, but then slowly fades down. Now we're like, no, we want that all together again. We don't want it separate, and it's frustrating trying to do both timing separate. We can simply do time, enter, defaults everything back to the 5, and now I can change them separately. But I want the fade time as 5, and then I'll do color as 1 for now. And we can look at that again and see that that is working. Next is our beam control. So beam control is the edge or look of the actual beam. So we will actually need these fixtures back. And I'm actually going to go up here and home them so they look straight down or their default position. And now I'm going to jump in ML controls, and I am going to adjust the zoom. And that's probably it for this because it does not have gobos, sadly. But you could do gobos and stuff. Gobos is a part of the beam setting. But the beam does not interact with the intensity, or focus or color. It is just like the edge or the image being displayed. So now we're going to record Q7, and Q7 is going to have them both move and turn on and change their beam. Now we want the beam to change slower, so we're just going to go until we see beam time, and we're going to, let's make it slower. Let's make it 8 seconds. So I hit I for the shortcut on the board or on the keyboard until I got to beam time. You can use other shortcuts and stuff to get there faster, but simply just mashing it until you get there works for me just fine. Now we're here. If we step back, we can see that these move, and then the beam slowly gets bigger. So depending on timing and iteration, you can easily control the complexity of your movements. Or if you have a gobo, you can change the gobo within all of that. So that is the first major section of the cues. So with that, the next kind of thing that I want to talk about is follows and hangs and delays. These are all very powerful tools and can help you make what we just did even more dynamic without adding additional 30 cues or effects and stuff like that, or making complex calls. So let's start with a follow. So I have all the fixtures here. What I'm going to do is select them and go to home, which means puts them at their home intensity. I'm going to record Q8. So we have our default cue here. And now I'm going to go through and I want to take these fixtures out, then these fixtures, and then these fixtures until there's no lights on. But I want two things. I want them to go out each after a second after each other, and I want to only press the button once. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the first group. I'm going to take those out. I'm going to record Q9. Now, this is our first button. Now we can take the second group out, record. What I like doing for my follows, and when I know they're follows, I will do point cues. So I'll do 9.5. And then I'm going to go to the final row. I'm going to take those out, record 9.8. And now we have that. So I want to go back to Q9. And I want to do a shift delay, which is shift D. And that populates the command follow. And then it will want a time. So I want a time of, let's say, 2, because I'm going to change all the fade times to 1. So what that means is after 2 seconds, it's going to fire the next cue. I hit enter, and you can see that there is an indent here and an F2 here. That means follow of 2. And this cue, when fired, will continue through all the this cue. Now if we go to the next cue, I went the wrong way. So we're in Q 9.5. If we do shift delay 2 again, it will. Now I want Q 9 through 9.8 time 1, enter. And that changes all those to 1. Now, if we back up until we're in Q8, what should happen is when I fire Q9, it'll take the first group out over a second, and then a second after that, it will take the next set of fixtures out over the duration of 1 second, wait 1 second, and then take out the last group over 1 second. So let's see if I did that correctly. So go, those are out, 1 Mississippi, out, 1 Mississippi. All right, perfect. That is a follow. Now, the opposite of that is a hang. So I'm going to do 3 more cues, turning them back on. So I'm going to do at full, record 10, at full, record 10. Oh, my bad. 10.5. It gave me a warning, do you want to confirm this? And that told me I already had a cue. So I'm going to go back to, I'm going to go up and do sneak clear because I did some weird things. Sets it back to that. I want to grab these. My bad. I'm getting a little clicky. So this is Q2. Record 10.5 or a second one in that. Then we want the last group on at full 10 or record 10.8. Now we want to do a hang instead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make them all 2 seconds. And it's going to start and cascade through each other because a hang starts its time at the end of a cue and not the beginning. Where a follow, once you hit go or when that cue fires, that timer starts. Where a hang does not start its timer until after the cue is complete. So if I do Q10 through 10.8, time 2, shift, and I only need it on a 10 and 10.5, so 10 through 10, Q10 through 10.5. If I do shift delay, it says follow. If I do shift delay again, it now says hang. And if I do a hang of 2, it will now wait 2 seconds between each. So if we go back to Q 9.8, everything's off. We go into Q, it takes 2 seconds to turn on, it waits 2 seconds, then the next one turns on over 2 seconds, and then waits 2 seconds. Double checking that works. So you see this number change, then that one goes. Then this one will count down, and then that one will count down. And then that will count down. Now, if you were thinking smart about this, you can do the exact same thing as the follow is doing with hangs. So if I do Q10 through 10.8 time 1, enter, and now I do Q10 through 10.5, shift delay 1, now the timing should be identical. So it's going move for 1 and then wait for 1. So it's going turn on for 1, wait for 1, turn on for 1, wait for 1, turn on for 1, wait. So it's doing exactly what it is up here, but it's doing it a different way. So if we go back to Q9, actually we'll start in 8. So watch both this number and this number, they start counting at the same time. So they both count down at the same time. Granted, so I'm going to adjust the time for Q9 through 9.10. Time 2, so you can, Q9 through, my bad, Q9 through 9.8 time to enter. Now you'll see both of these count down at the same time. So we're in 8, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0. So they're doing the same thing, or can do the same thing. It's just how you want it to set up, because there's multiple ways of firing it. And a lot of time it's based on what you're programming to, whether it's movement, music, or anything else, so that, like, if I were to change the timing on the in or the cues for 9 through 8, it does not change when these are fired, when the next cue is fired. However, when I change the timing of 10 and 10.5 and 10.8, it changes the overall duration of those 3 cues. So right now, 9 through 9.8 is 6 seconds, and 10 through 10.8 is 5 seconds, because it's 1 here, then 1. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. Where this is 2, this doesn't matter. This is 2 again, that doesn't matter. 2 here. What I mean by it doesn't matter is this time will not affect this. Once this fires the next cue, these attributes no longer happen directly. So that is follows and hangs. Next, I want to talk to you about delay. So we can delay a cue, whether we're trying to match up with music or sound or an action, but we want everything called the same, we can add a delay. So I want to take these colors, or these fixtures, and change the colors. Make sure they're at full, record Q12. But when we go from Q12 to Q13, which is going to be blue, let's do green. We haven't done green. Record 13. We don't want Q13 to fire directly. We want a 2-second delay before it fires, because that's how our timing works with everything on stage. So we're going to do a delay of 2 seconds. Now, when we go from here into Q13, it is actually going to wait 2 seconds before firing. So when I hit space, now you see it starts counting, and then it starts fading the cue, the colors. So that can be beneficial for different timing aspects and very useful for getting more dynamic things. Now, this is where we can get very complicated very quickly. We can use all of this information that we just did individually per fixture. So what I mean by that is, let's say we want all of these to sneak this fixture. I forgot my sneak. Oh, it's N, enter. So trying to grab those fixtures. I want these to change colors to blue now. Record 14. So, but there's a few ways you can do this. You want each one of these to change individually. You can build an effect for that or other things, but I want to show you an example of doing individual things. So you could do a follow cue for each of these, where instead of what you have here, you can do this, and actually we're going to reset it. Recall from cue last, enter. So they're actually pulling from Q13 their information. We'll update that. And then we'll take this and turn it blue. And you could do a follow cue off that and record 15. So you can go back and do it that way. Another way of doing it within the cue So I'm going to delete Q15 because I want to do it all in one queue. This can be kind of finicky or can be beneficial depending on different aspects of what you're trying to do. So I want these all to turn blue, but I want a cascading kind of effect, and I don't really need to build a full effect for it, but I want each one to be a second off from the other. So I'm going to update the color so the color is recorded. I'm going to take this fixture, hit delay, and then 1 second. So it sees that this is channel 2, delay that. You see how we don't have anything in here saying that the queue itself is delayed. It's just that fixture. Now if we do this, channel 3 I think it is, delay 2, then this one, 4 and delay 3, and then 5 delay 4. Now, if I don't change anything right, if I don't do anything and I jump out of this queue, nothing is saved. So I actually have to update this queue for this effect to work. But if we step back a queue and then we step into it, we see the first one changes, and we do this really kind of cool cascading effect through those. Now, we can change the timing of this to be 0 so that we can see each one when they snap over. Boom, 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 boom. So if you didn't notice, we could make it either fade over top of each other or separately completely. So it's a second increment between the each. Anything over a second will start the next one without the first one being fully completed. Granted, you can build effects and do this just as easily, but this is just the capability of queuing. I'm trying to give you the tools that allow you to go beyond just basic things like this. There's other things you can do. So that is a thing I use a lot, is delay. Another thing is timing. So if we do up here and we do update, we can also see that it affects other things too. So we're here, and it just did the color shift differently. But I want each one of these to be a focus time different. So I want this one to be fast, or yeah, so I'm going to do channel 1, focus time 1, this one. So that is 2, I think. And then I'm actually selecting these attributes here. Focus time 2. Well, I have to add time 2. Another option is selecting the fixture, and it is sometimes up here or along this line for these options for focus and all those. So depending on which board you have, you'll get different options for that. But so channel 3. So this is 1, 2. We'll do focus time 3, 4, and I believe shift Control F or Control I or C all fill those in. So we want time 4, 5. Control F is focus, I 5. Now if we do update, enter, it saves those changes into that. And if we back up a queue, we should get this kind of cool effect where 1 is fast, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, kind of all that. And if we would have got our timings corrected, we would have it land right there and then snap to color. So if we back up a queue and watch it, it gets there just a bit early. Maybe we want to do that. So we'll do this, delay 1, and then 2, delay 2, 3, delay 3, 4, delay 4, 5, delay 5. And that may have messed up everything, but let's find out. So, another thing that you can do, and probably your best friend, and I probably should have showed you this earlier, is there's an undo button. So where is the undo button? It usually lives, yep, undo. So we can get rid of that, update, shift back. So we want to keep the movement going, but we want the color to delay. So an option is to delay the color for each. So 1, shift C, or control C is color, delay 1. I know that's a lot, but it's 2, color, delay 2, 3, color, delay 3, 4, color, delay 4, 5, color, delay 5. Enter. Now we need to make sure we update and save that. Back up a queue. Now the color should snap, but it should snap when it lands at the focus position. So if we hit go, snap, 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 snap. And you get this really cool effect into that. So there's a lot of different effects you can do for this. And I use this for effects. Sometimes, like I said, I'll use it to make sure things are kind of neat and clean and not noisy or anything like that. So this is kind of the basics for programming on all of that. Another thing I want to point you to is tracking. So I'm going to do a queue here where I'm going to record 15 through 20. We only did queue 15. Record 16, record 17, record 18, record 19, record 20. So tracking is something that I use for being able to update an entire scene and not just the individually in queue. So by default, your system should be in tracking. If somebody changed it, there's a way to go into settings and set it back to tracking. I recommend learning how to use tracking because it can be very beneficial when programming and save you a lot of time. So tracking is when you update a queue, it will track that update if there's no other changes to that fixture. So what I mean like that is none of these fixtures change at all from queue 16 through 15. But let's say in queue 19, we want these to go out. So we're in queue 19, we can do out and do update, enter. And now they were in queue 20, but if we go to queue 20, they're no longer in. So it can be beneficial for adjusting the entire scene. For example, we don't like this green color back here. We want to change it to red or something. We can go over here. Let's make it an orange. Why not? We want that to track all the way to Q20. So we do update, enter. Now, all the Qs there are orange. And if we go back, it changes to green in that queue. And we have all our timing and separate stuff for that. Now, something that I'm trying to still work through is there's an option called a block. So if I hit B, if I hit B, that gives us the Q18 block. And there's also should be a block button right there if you want that. If I hit block, we see a big B over here. Now, if we go back to this Q in 16, and we're like, I want these to be red now. So I'm going to change these to red. but I put the block on Q18. If you watch, Q17, it is normal. Q18, it changes back. A block stops tracking. So a block like this will stop anything from going into this. I use this heavily in blackouts or specific moments where I don't want extra light from my tracking from other scenes to affect this. So transitions and stuff, I usually put some kind of block at some point within the transition to help keep those clean and less time of frantically updating when there's supposed to be like a blackout and the entire stage is lit incorrectly. Yeah, this can help prevent stuff like that. So the other version that I want to show you in this is we saw how this tracked into 17. Now we want this color to change in Q16, but not 17. So when you're using tracking, it does everything below it until it changes its attributes. So let's go back to 18. And we're going to actually remove the block by hitting block again. It removed it. So I want to play with tracking a little bit more. So we see that it actually changes in Q18 to the purple or the blue. So it changed to blue from red. Now, another version of this, there's technically a soft block on 18 because it's changing color. So if I change color on here to a green and update that, it will change everything down to when it changes color. So this will change back to it because the attribute, one of the attributes changed. If you have no changed attributes, then it would track through all of it. Another thing that you need to be kind of aware with tracking is moving lights and what I call mover trash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to home these fixtures. So they're all pointing down and at full. I'm going to record 21, record 22, record 24. There. So we have 3 Qs here. In Q22, I want the moving lights pointed at this dot. So I'm just going to update. And something that I forgot to mention, you can do update Q only, which removes the tracking and only changes that one Q. So update Q only, enter. And if you have it in non-tracking mode, if you do that, or the Q only or track button, it will then track it. So you can work within both worlds at the same time. So now, if I go to the queue, next queue, you see how it's moving away, and supposedly we want it off or something here. So 1 through 5, out, update. And we want it here out too, 1 through 5, out. So this is a prime example of, I need to update that before we go too far. 1 through 5, out, update, enter. I went the wrong way. Sorry. Jumping around really fast. So we're here. We want the lights focused on this one dot for this one Q. They tracked out. So update, and we're going to do Q only to bring them back in, only for this Q. Enter. So we brought them, for example, we would bring them up in this queue. We would focus them there and then update queue only because we don't want it on for the next queue. Watch what happens with that. We get this kind of ugly movement of the fixtures going back to the positions that they were. This is what I call mover trash because a lot of the times we just want it to go straight out We don't want any of that movement. That's the same with going into the cue. We see the lights coming up. Like, say we have an actor here that we just want to light for this one specific moment, and we're going to use a moving fixture for that. We don't want to see all of this extra stuff. So what you can do to help clean this up is in this cue, you can select these and you can do a recall from, which recalls any attributes from anything within this, within this cue. So if I were to select another fixture, it would copy those into that if I hit enter. And it has to be, it works better when the fixtures are the same. So I'm just on sneak enter. But if I want to recall from a different cue, I can. So I can do recall from cue next enter. You see how they all went there, but I don't want them on in this cue. So I'm going to take them out, and then I'm going to update cue only enter. And now if we go into that cue, they just come up where we want them to. They don't move. So we're going to do a very similar thing in this cue when they're moving. So we're going to do 1 through 5, recall from, cue last, enter. Now we want to update cue only. Oh, missed one step. We want them out in here. So 1 through 5, out, update cue only, enter. Now if we go back to this, and we are in Q21, we have them come, the light just come up, and then also fade out at the same time without doing any movement or anything like that. There's ways around this when you have two kind of focus points back to back. I use a delay within that cue for that fixture to delay the movement and stuff to help prep it for the next thing. So an option of that is, say we have it focused here at this moment, and we actually need it focused here for this next cue. So record 25, but we do not want to see it transitioning from that cue to that cue in this, because if we back up a cue, we'll get this same issue of this mover trash here. So an option to solve this is we go back to this, and then we do another recall from cue next, enter, out, update, cue only, enter. But you're like, yeah, but now it's not going to be in the right position for this one. Yes. Now we do a delay. So you see how this fades out here, and it fades out over 5 seconds. And if that's our fade time that we want, we're going to change and put a delay on the focus here. So in this cue, not this cue, in this cue, we're going to do channel 5, focus, delay, 5. And sometimes I'll make it safe and I'll do 6 seconds. Enter, update so that it gets saved into it. Now we're here. Now if we hit go, it fades out. And you wait, and then you can see him focus to the new position. And sometimes maybe you want that focus to be 0 seconds, so he snaps over right away. So if we go back, I'm going to zoom in a little bit to kind of get a better view on that guy. So cue's going, the lights are out, and then, oh, he's over, and now we fade it up, and he's focused there. So that's a benefit of using all these individual channel programming options. You can get complex with it. It is sometimes harder to go back and edit it this way. There's ways of doing part queues and things like that, but this is just this is my way of doing it. If you want part queues can be beneficial because then you can later go back and edit them. So that is the major things that I want to cover with programming. Now we're going to look at some of the different attributes when we're looking at what is a live table. So we're going to bring up our channels tab. And we see all these with a bunch of different colors all everywhere. So I want to itemize and explain. I'm going to bring augmented over here too. Actually, why don't we make this fancy and do a 3 split? So we're going to do this. We're going to add this, and then we're going to add that. We're going to slide this over a little bit, and probably this down a little bit, and then click out of it. We'll do augmented here. We'll do channels here. We'll do PTSD here. We'll change off all this extra stuff down here so we can see that. We're going to turn off these two to get rid of those. So now we can see all of our cues. So let's go all the way back to the beginning. So, oh, wrong button. Go to Q1. I want my spacebar enabled. So now all of our color, I will read you kind of the explanation of the colors. Green is a value that has come down from a previous queue. Blue is a value that has increased from a previous queue. Purple is tracked value from a previous queue. Yellow is a value from a sub. Red is a manual value that is not recorded anywhere. And white is a blocked value and will not allow tracking values. So let's look at that. So we're in here. And now we see a bunch of green. Green means it went down. And we see purple. Purple means it's tracking or is tracked from a previous queue. We don't see any blue, so nothing went up, and we don't see any yellow because we have no submasters. Now we see blue here, green here, so something went down and something went up. Great. And we see some tracking values floating around, and we're seeing blue for lights coming up, and these are not tracking because they changed. And then we have more fixtures going in and out, changing different things. So blue is up, green is down, purple is tracked. And going through all of those, that gives you all the different information. So we can also program from this by selecting our fixtures, typing in a number that we want it at 30, at 40, at 50, and so forth. We can also select different attributes, but be careful doing some of that. They can get wonky. I rather just select the channel and go through it that way. So you see these are red. That means these are not saved anywhere. They're manual controls. So they're overriding what the queue is doing because you manually change them. So that is a quick breakdown of all those. I guess the last thing I do want to cover is a magic sheet. A magic sheet is something that I utilize heavily, and I do a digital magic sheet. So let's find the magic sheets here. I'm going to do a new magic sheet, and we're going to quickly build and do some fine adjustments on some things. I'm not going to get crazy into this. I just want to give you a perspective on how useful this can be when programming. So My favorite kind of tool is the tombstones. So I know channel 1 through 5 are our movers in the center. So I'm going to put 5 of them here. They are listed up. Then I have channel 6, 7, 8, 9 here. So I'm going to do those next. 6, 7, 8, and 9. They are up front. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 out there. So that should be 10 through 20. So I'm going to make this easy on myself and copy and paste again, place them there. And then I'm going to use, so I usually will build the magic sheet in a full screen. So magic sheets here and build it here because we get other options like this numbering where we can do channel start at 10 increment 1 and then you do nope meant to be 10 enter so 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 so that should get at least most of them. We actually need a 20, so I'm going to do a 20. And you can just change it over here and 20. Now, if we go back to this view, go back to live, bring up this, we can see those. Now, I use this to quickly select and control the fixtures. So I click and drag for all of them. You can put groups in here as well. And if you have color palettes and stuff like that, you can add those as well. But I do this as a quick way to program instead of typing 10 through 20 or something. And then I'm like, oh, I don't need 11. So minus 11, minus 13 because I don't need that, or 15, or 17, or 19. And then you're like out for that. Where instead, you can just select the ones you don't want or the ones you want and adjust those. So it's a lot faster in a lot of different ways. Another amazing aspect of this is if we go back into the edit mode, is we can actually change a few things. So we want this to link to target's intensity. And this one we want to link to target color. Now, if we go back to live, and we select these, live, sorry, here, you see how they're doing something weird? These don't have edges on them. That means they're like out, and when you take it away, they are full. Granted, I don't usually do the borders. I usually do just the color. Because with the color is I can change this to red or orange or whatever. So when I'm programming, one of the benefits of doing so is if few of my colors are being wonky, I can look at my magic sheet and be like, oh, what happened? Why is there pink in this? Let me just recall from this fixture. Enter. Hey, it fixed my color problem. So I think that's a very usable tool. I will also, if I have conventionals, I will go in and adjust their background to be specific colors to match those. So right now these have no colors, but they're orange. So I'll go through and I'll just do maybe a light orangish yellow there. If I'm feeling interested in different things, I can change the lines to different things to give it more. And you can do different things as well. Oh, I closed it. I have a bad habit of that. So now these have the color yellow to them, but they never change. I can't physically change the color or anything, but this is a very beneficial way of programming. You can get super fancy, add text, add shapes, add whatever you want to make this as clean and as well usable to you as possible. This is a magic sheet, and I use it for every show. I take the 30 minutes it takes to set up one properly and well, labels and everything, and then I use it through the entirety of my programming of the show because it is very beneficial in speed. I believe that covers mostly everything to get a great head start on any EOS software or programming. Thank you. Goodbye.